Good morning. My name is Alex, and I was excited over a month ago when Jason asked me to speak this morning, because I'm a little bit strange. I immensely enjoy public speaking, especially in church. The whole process of coming up with a topic and content, something to talk about, writing it all out, fleshing out the ideas, weaving in some humor, delving down into personal stories to illustrate a greater point, the whole thing, I enjoy it. Thought I had something, and a few ideas kept rolling through, and for one reason or another, I kept shooting them down, and then I thought I had it. And I started fleshing it out and started working on the specific wording of some of the phrases. It was going to be good. And then I took Jason flying. Now, this isn't important because we went flying, but rather because every time Jason and myself interact, new realizations of some shape and nature come to light. And that time, was that today is Father's Day. All right, well, guess my topic's kind of chosen for me. Jason, you're more qualified. That's right, you're going to be in Uganda. Well, Brenda did pretty good on Mother's Day. That was Mother's Day. This is Father's Day. Guess I'm going for it. And that was 4 weeks ago. Now, that seems like a lot of time, and it is if the words start flowing, but they just didn't. Until about 3 weeks ago, and then another realization hit me. I may not be a father, but I have one. I may not be a father, but there are still people looking up to me in one way or another. So on that note, I'd like to start over. Good morning. My name is Alex, and I am a man. But I can change if I have to, I guess. For real though, I'm a man, or at least that's what I'm assuming the doctor would tell me if I ever went to go see him. But no, I'm a young man that apparently has issues taking things seriously. A very young man, some might say, even though I think about the fact that only a few weeks ago I turned 24 and I feel old, quarter century, and 7, 8 years since I've been in school. I mean, moving on in years here. But part of being a man, I think, is the instinctual desire to protect your family, to care for them, and to train your children to be the best they can be. And the sense of pride you get when they do exactly that, when they step up and you get to see their accomplishments. And I see some of those traits in my life already, and I'm guessing a lot of you are the same. If I lay out a couple scenarios here, what runs through your head? What do you feel when your wife calls you and tells you she's been in a car accident? Or when one of the other kids at school is making fun of one of your siblings? Or you're dirt biking with your brother and he absolutely just wipes out. So first you go check the bike to make sure it's still usable, and then you make sure he can still walk. He's in your top 3. The guy's got to give you a break. What about pride in their accomplishments? Now, over the years, I've had the pleasure of being able to assist in education or tutoring my siblings, only in math and science, because nobody wants an English tutor that subbed out at least half of their grade 10 ELA. But then as they get closer to graduation, I get to see their accomplishments. Now, I've said for years that people make too big a deal at a graduation. And I still mostly stand by that. I am overall a very lazy human being that doesn't like throngs of people. And you look at the percentage rates on the graduation, and it's is it really that big of a deal? oh, it's grad week this week. Oh boy. Go grads. But no, that's been my mentality. But as my siblings get closer to graduation, I get to see some of their accomplishments. And when they walk across the stage, I get it. I've had the pleasure of seeing a couple of my siblings walk across the stage, and a few other people that I've met and then helped throughout their school. You see them walk across that stage, and I get it. Apparently it's different when you got some skin in the game. This morning, I want to talk to two groups of men from two different perspectives. And I, in one way or another, fit into both groups of men, and I, in some way or another, have both perspectives. Some of what I say is going to be uncomfortable, but please stick with me to the end. I promise I will bring hope. So the two groups of men I'm going to be speaking to today are fathers. Seems obvious, I know, but I'm going to expand the definition a little bit to include any man in a leadership role, or any man that has life experience behind him and has the ability to speak into someone else's life for the better. Second group of men I'll be speaking to is the young men. Now, neither of these groups are age exclusive. Regardless of where you are in life, someone's going to be looking up to you, you're looking up to someone else, it really doesn't matter. So first, I'd like to speak to the fathers. You ever feel restrained in your ability to be an effective father? Let me expand. You ever look back in history and see all the damage men have done and think to yourself, maybe it would be better if I just laid low? I mean, all throughout history, be it the Crusades, the genocides in Africa, kings leading Israelites astray, whatever it is, all the sexual harassments of the last years. It's very easy to see that men cause a lot of problems in this world. I might even dare to say that if you trace back all the problems in society today and even over the years, trace it back, there's going to be a man in there somewhere causing problems. Maybe it would be better to just lay low and do as little as possible. Maybe make part of the Hippocratic Oath our motto. Do no harm. But what if that approach does more harm than good? I said that I'm speaking now to fathers. What I didn't say is that I'm speaking from the perspective of the young men. We see all the bad things going on around us as well. We see too that in one way or another, most of it can be traced back to men, and that scares us. Society is telling us that the solution is to be quiet and gentle all the time and never break from that. Blend in and don't attract attention. Try to tame ourselves and train ourselves to not be the bulls in the china cabinet. And that's not necessarily wrong. But while that's happening, a lot of those same people are demanding that we man up. And we then sit here confused. What do they want? One or the other? They can't have both. Or can they? We don't know. What does it even look like? In all the hubbub and chaos going on and all the fingers being pointed at men, we've lost the very essence of what makes men unique, special, and important. In the efforts to get rid of all the bad parts of us, we've lost a lot of the good, too. We're beginning to see this, but we don't know what to do about it. And that's just what's happening around us. We look inside us and we don't like what we see either. We see little boys that are scared, don't know what we're doing or how to figure it out. We see boys that are changing and developing into men and don't know how to handle it. We're looking anywhere and everywhere for any sense of validation. We're being inundated by the world with sex. It's everywhere. And when we act on it, we're told we're monsters. So we isolate, we internalize it, and it only gets worse. We see our families falling apart for one reason or another. Our friends' families are doing no better. And when you do seem stable overall, the reality is, you're preoccupied trying to figure out what's going on yourself, so it's hard to properly guide us through what's happening, how to deal with it, cope with it, and heal from it. We try to read our Bibles more because apparently that's the solution. But when it doesn't seem relevant, we get frustrated and leave it alone. We're told Christianity is about a relationship with God, but how can I relate to someone that I can't see, hear, or feel? And why would God even want to have a relationship with someone as dirty and broken as me? Help! We're dying over here. In the realization that we're causing all the problems, there is hope. In fact, the very same reason we're so good at causing all the problems is exactly the reason there's hope. Throughout history, we've been given many major leadership roles, and lead, we did. We look at all the bad campaigns. At the top is a man, you got Hitler in the World Wars, Herod and Pharaoh killing a lot of babies, Aaron building a golden calf, on it goes. But on the flip side of the coin, you have Joshua and the "as for me and my house" speech. Josiah, the 8-year-old king that turned a nation back to God. The Billy Graham revivals, both of those lists can go on and on. Here's what I'm getting after. In Titus 2, verse 6 to 8, Paul says, "Encourage the young men to be self-controlled. In everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us." This is Paul speaking to Titus. In the book of Titus, according to Alex, the same passage reads, "Men are a bit nuts. You know this. You are one. The young ones especially. Work with them. Show them how to differentiate between the good impulses and the bad ones. Show them how to control what comes out. And you can't just tell them either. Lead by example. This is going to give weight to what you say, a strong display of integrity. Make sure you're not flipping back and forth either. Be consistent. Consistency in what you say, coupled with a consistent display of what you say being lived, sets you up in such a way that no one has a leg to stand on when they try to pick you apart and tell you that what you're saying or doing is wrong. Because you see, the answer to bad men deeply hurting the world and those around them isn't no men. It isn't weak men. It is godly men who use their God-given strength to build His kingdom and protect His children. Now, flipping over and talking to the young men. You might have guessed by now that this is going to be coming from the perspective of the fathers, or in this case, from a mentor perspective, or more specifically, my perspective. As someone who's grown up in the church my whole life and by now has enough experience, in some areas anyway, to mentor those coming after me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not being more proactive when it comes to speaking into your life. I'm sorry for telling you what to do without demonstrating how or explaining why. Please understand that I am just as scared as you are when I look around at the world and consider my role in making it a better place. Believe it or not, I don't have this any more figured out than you do. I want to help you, I do. I see and I hear your cries for help. I've been there myself. But most of the time, I don't know how to help. So I just step back. I don't engage. I try not to make it any worse, and I hope that the little bit of direction you've gotten is enough to get you through, even though I know the vast majority of the time, those that go it alone don't come out the other side. If I were to request one thing from you, it would be this: talk to me, ask me questions, share what you're struggling with. I may not know the answer off the top of my head, but I will find one even if it kills me. By virtue of being a Christian, you are my family. And I've already told you with the feelings that well up when I see my family struggling. And the pride I get when I see them succeed. Now for the part of the show where I issue the challenge. It comes in two parts, just like the rest of this. One for the fathers, one for the young men. And to the fathers I say this, we need you. Now is the time to fight for your family. We have young men in this church that need what you have to offer. Show them how you got to where you are. This is a call to arms. Now is not the time to play nice. Your children are being threatened. The practical steps are these. Get into the Bible. That's a tough one. I struggle with this one myself all the time. One thing that has made it a little bit easier is realizing a few weeks ago that doing something good for the wrong reason with the right heart is still good. Again, doing something good for the wrong reason with the right heart is still good. See, I find it easiest to read my Bible when I'm looking for an answer, studying to try to learn something. And I get so caught up in the fact that in a perfect world, I should be reading my Bible just for the sake of reading the Bible. So I feel guilty when I'm only reading it to find an answer. Reading the Bible is good. Just to find an answer may not be the right reason, but my heart's still good. I'm trying to find out what God has to say about the matter. The other psychological trap I get into is when I do finally get myself to read just for the sake of reading, I tend to read too quick. I've heard these stories before. But when I'm sitting with my dad and listening to him tell me stories, there's not once that I've ever told him, no, skip that one. I've heard that one before. I like the old stories. Christianity is a relationship with God, so whether it's listening to the same old story, going for a walk with God, working on my car, or delving into the Bible for an answer, I know that those are all relational things that I've done with my dad, so what makes me think that God wants anything different? So get into your Bible. Be actively building your relationship with God so that when we do come to you for help, that you're ready. Remember, we're watching you. We can see when what you're saying lines up with what you're doing. When we come to you for help, this means we're seeing consistency and you seem approachable. Which is the second thing. Be approachable. This is another one I struggle with. I find it very difficult to establish rapport with people and get comfortable in conversation with them. But it's important. Without the established rapport, even if we do see that your words are consistent with your actions, it will be difficult for us to approach you if we don't know you at least a little bit. Some of us can get past those walls if the issue we're facing is bad enough or we need enough help, but that is not the norm. To the young men, I say this. Please extend grace to us, to your fathers, and to the other men in your life who you look to for advice. We aren't always good at shooting the breeze with you. I mean, at least half of us are farmers in this room, and we genuinely enjoy talking about the weather. So when we do want to start a conversation, we're not sure if we'll be able to find some common ground to talk about. So this has potential to be really awkward. What if we can't get past that stage and the conversation ends and now you'll never talk to us again because that was the most awkward interaction ever and now we've just done more harm than good. So please reach out to us when you need help. We want to help you. That's what we're designed to do. Ask any of our wives, what's the first thing we do when she comes home and tells us about her day? We come up with a 5-point plan on how to fix it. That's just what I've been told. I don't actually have any first-hand experience on that one. It's true? He knows. Again, the practical steps for you are as follows. Engage in the conversations. You're smart and intuitive. You know who's genuinely caring and who's not. And so when you're talking with someone that is, let them in. Offer up a tidbit of information that gives them a clue as to what you really like to do or talk about. Your favorite fishing trip. The latest issue your car's been throwing at you and how many wrenches you've thrown at it. Or how all the Marvel characters are intertwined and correlated. For the last couple of years, I've realized just exactly how correlated, and that's genius. Every person needs a few people they can lean on to assist with various areas of their lives. When I have a work issue, I have someone I can talk to. And it's not my boss. When I have spiritual and relationship issues, I have someone I can talk to. When I have general life and financial issues, I've got someone I can talk to. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. But I've got a bunch of people that I can rely on to help me out when the going gets tough. Engage in the conversations. This morning, we're going to close things up a little different. I'm going to go off on what will seem like a bit of a tangent, and I'll try to tie it back around. But you can see we've got things set up for communion this morning. Now, communion is a beautiful illustration of the unique relationship we have with God. It signifies the ultimate price that had to be paid to establish that relationship, and it displays the intimacy that God wants to have with us. The Last Supper was the last Passover supper and the first communion. God himself was there participating, having conversation with everyone around the table. I read through that story, and I can't help but think, I wonder if even Jesus forgot for a minute what was coming next. All the conversations going on, everyone was chatting, having a good time. It's around food. You guys, food, it's just going to happen. The story of how they found the donkey the week before. Or even the story of how they came up with this room that they're eating in right now. What about that goofball Peter that just asked for a sponge bath? This isn't that kind of brotherhood, Peter. But then reality sets in again. Do this in remembrance of me. I'm going to read through the story, and what I'd like you to close your eyes, listen to the words. Put yourself at the table. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? It's not Peter, he just had a sponge bath. While you're there, take a look at Jesus. He's in an interesting position. He's our brother, but he's also the earthly representation of God, our Father, and he is right there. Here's the layout. The table's set. You just got your feet washed by Jesus after a long day of walking in sandals in the sand and the dust. And now you're just sitting at the table and you're relaxing. Matthew 26. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." When they had sung a hymn, they went to the Mount of Olives. So, today when you take communion, remember, God is the perfect Father. So to the fathers and mentors, I say this: spend time with Him and learn who He is so that you can be the physical representation of Him and a powerful, positive force for good in the world. To everyone else, I say this: you may have a bad father, a negligent father, or maybe no father at all. But please hear me when I say that God just wants to spend time with you. He wants to be for you what your father wasn't. Matthew 11, I think, gives a good illustration. In the Message Bible, I like that one. It says, "Are you tired? Worn out? Burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." Just get away with me. Walk with me. Work with me. Keep company with me. If everyone that is watching us as we're living our lives, people are watching us, and we have a responsibility to make sure they can see Jesus. That's what we're supposed to be doing. The answer to bad men deeply breaking and hurting the world and the people around them. It's not no men. It isn't weak men. It is godly men who use their God-given strength to build His kingdom and protect His children. Pray for the communion, and you all file through. Thank you, Father, for fathers. Thank you for the roles that they play in our lives. And I thank you that as we as fathers and mentors spend time with you and learn from you and read the Bible and get to know you, that you're working in us and working through us. And when we look at the world around us and we're scared and concerned that all we're doing is wrecking things and making things worse, if we spend time with you, show us how to make things better. Thank you for Jesus and the sacrifice that was made so that we could enter into a relationship with you, our Father. Thank you that for the illustration that communion is, just spending time with you. Right as we go from here throughout the rest of our days, Father's Day, and however we're spending that, pray that we would remember to be intentional with the people around us. Amen.